is my hair even doing today? I don't know. Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and today we're doing the potato book tag. Now, I don't even know if book tags are even a thing anymore on BookTube because I never see them around, but I love them. Like, they're good seasonal videos, and they're great to do if you don't really know what else you're doing. And with St. Paddy Days coming up, I figured we should really just have, not St. Patrick's Day, a book tag, but like something Irish, because we're all a little bit Irish anyways. They're very good at getting into our bloodlines. So, as always, I will leave the original creator or the original video down in this description below. And with that all being said, let's dive on in. Question number 1, raw potatoes. They're raw, okay, but they have the potential to be anything. So name a character with the potential to be anything they wanted. I chose Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle. If you've seen the movie, she's not that different from her book character. I absolutely love the movie, but in the very beginning of the story, she ends up being cursed by the Wicked Witch of the Waste. She becomes an 80-year-old woman, and she basically wanders off into the great countryside because she can't be seen at home as an old lady. In the book, it's described as shock. In the movie, it's kind of more like, I can't let my family know I'm cursed. And she believes her solution is to go find the Howl, who is the one with the moving castle that she saw moving through the countryside not too long ago. If she can chase down the castle, she can chase down the wizard, and therefore maybe he can find a way to reverse the curse on her. Along the way, she ends up basically becoming Howl's housekeeper. And in the movie, there's a lot of like plots of like, you need to go pretend to be my grandma, and then another thing, she's like his sister, and it's a lot of like just being who you want to be even though you're not who you are at the moment. And honestly, I can't say I like the movie more, but I have more of an attachment to the movie, and so I'm talking about that Sophie in particular, even though they're the same character. Like, the book to movie adaptation is actually amazing, but just in general, Sophie is the icon that's like, yes, you can be whatever you want to be, I believe in you, and she's just amazing. She's like the grandma we always wanted, even though she's only technically 20 years old. I feel like an old lady sometimes, and I'm only 20, so I get where she's coming from. Question number 2, mashed potatoes. They go well with anything, or they go well alone. Name a character that would get along with anyone in no matter what book, or what universe, or what world. For this, I picked Yukio from Shadow of the Fox. She is set up to be this sort of naive character. In the very beginning of the book, it is announced that she was raised in essentially a temple, a monastery in Japanese mythology. She doesn't really have much experience with the outside world other than the monks that she grew up with, and when she's first forced into the outside world on her quest to deliver the ancient dragon scroll, or whatever, the reason why her temple ended up getting burned down in the beginning of the book, she ends up meeting a whole bunch of characters, all with a whole bunch of backgrounds, all of them who they claim they want to be alone, and they want to be like stoic and awesome, or they have very specific goals that they can't leave their post for, and they all end up joining to follow her because she's just like, she's that easy to get along with. And normally that type of character does get on our nerve, but honestly, Yukio is like, you can't fault her for that. She's just so sweet. Personality-wise, she really could just get along with anyone. Like, she is great. Question number 3, baked potato. They're delicious and they're filling. Name a book or a series that has a lot of information but is still enjoyable. I picked Eye of the World Book 1 of the Wheel of Time series. Now, I did not finish book 2 of that series specifically because I felt like it dragged down the story a lot with the way the characters were developing, but book 1, it was so, like, it's 800 pages, you guys. The paperback is 800 pages, and it's still so enjoyable. It's filled with so much knowledge and information on the world. It does not hold back on world building, but it doesn't feel like you're reading an encyclopedia. It's great and it's amazing, and it's just, the characters I fell in love with, and that's the whole reason why I gave up on book 2, because the characters weren't the same characters as book 1. But that makes sense, because books for 800 pages, there's going to be some development. The Eye of the World is very much Lord of the Rings, Hobbit inspired. It's the journey of a couple of kids from the corner of the world going off into a grand adventure with a magical sidekick or a magical mentor. In this case, she's a young woman. She might be older than she actually appears to be because of magic. That's not really the point. And it's just about their journey to go fight or defeat or destroy the big bad guy in that sort of context of the word. But there's so much you need to learn about the world along the way, and each character has their own little piece where they fit into it, and it's so much information because, again, it is 800 pages, but it's so good. Like, if you have a chance to listen to this on audiobook, which is what I did because I can't read high fantasy that well, please do it. It's amazing. It's like 46 hours long, but it's so amazing. Question number 4, French fries. You can't stop eating them once you've started. Name a book or a series you couldn't put down. I picked Daisy Jones and the Six for this, specifically because I gave myself a week to read this, and I read it in like 2 days, and I could not stop thinking about it afterwards. To finish this book, which I was listening to on audiobook, I stayed up way past my bedtime because college is a mess on sleeping schedule to begin with, but I do try to go to bed before an unreasonable hour, but I couldn't do it. I just shut off all the lights in my room and just kind of had my phone playing the audiobook, and I needed to finish that story, and it's so good, and it's so upsetting that it's only one book, and it will never, like, it's not even set up to have a sequel. That's not possible. But it's such a good book. It's written by the same person who wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which, if you are interested in that sort of autobiographical storytelling, even though it's fictional, it makes you forget that these characters aren't real. It's so amazing. Daisy Jones and the Six follows the story of like a 70s rock band, and you really get to see the whole lifestyle of sex, drugs, and rock and roll as they come out of nowhere, and at the height of their popularity, they break apart and no one knows why. This story is set up to be the story of why they broke up. You get to see little bits and pieces of who they are now versus who they are then, and how exactly they became that way. It's amazing, and I literally couldn't put it down. Question number 5, chips. They're not real potatoes. They've been processed too much. Name a book or a character that is labeled as something they're not. For this, I picked Blue Exorcist, specifically our main character, Rin. Rin is the son of Satan. At the beginning of the book, he does not know that. He was raised in a monastery. He believes he is human until Satan decides to show up and reclaim him as his child, killing Rin's foster father. And in the process, Rin decides, hey, I hate you, Dad. I'm gonna go become an exorcist to kill you. And it's really awesome. And Rin has to hide his identity as a half-demon, specifically as the son of Satan. And it's just awesome and it's amazing. And I haven't finished reading the manga. The manga has a different ending than the anime. As far as I'm aware, again, I haven't finished it, so I don't really know how different they are. But I am just in love with all the characters, and the story dynamic, and just how it's set up. And I need to know what the ending is, guys, because I'm going insane because I love this so much. And for some reason, no bookstore carries volume 8, and I don't know if I want to go out of my way to buy it online, but I cannot wait to finish the series. I'm just so excited. Question number 6, boiled potato. Plain. Needs some condiments. For this, name a book that's neither good nor bad. It needs something in your opinion. For this, I picked Once Upon a Dream. This is a twisted tales of Sleeping Beauty, and I gotta say, I don't hate this book. I just can't think of anything I liked about it. And it's a solid 3 stars. Like, if I've ever read a book that defines 3 stars, it's Once Upon a Dream. In this story, instead of waking up when Sleeping Beauty was kissed by the prince, he ends up falling into her dream with her. And we kind of see a time skip. Sleeping Beauty, or Aurora, ends up kind of growing up in her dream. She believes years has passed. She is convinced that Maleficent is actually her adopted mother, and that the king and queen kind of cursed her to live this life inside a dream. Like, it's not really clear if she knows what exactly is going on until the end, and I don't really want to spoil that, but it's just, there's so much about this book that I feel like it had potential to be better, but I don't know how they would have made it better other than just like re-scrapping the entire plots. Like, it's set up to be, it was all a dream in the end, but it's still kind of like relevant to everyone there, because I don't know, it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't good. Question number 7, potato soup. It will always make you feel better. Name an anti-reading slump book. Winnie the Pooh, the complete series. I actually need to read that right now because I'm in a huge reading slump. Nothing I read sounds at all interesting to me. But Winnie the Pooh is just such a soft and adorable book. And like all the little short tales in it, like if you need something to lighten up your day, read like one of the 5 pages that have an entire story in it. And it's just so sweet and kind and loving, and just don't read the last story because that's really heartbreaking. But it's the story of Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin and the 100 Acre Woods. And it's just, I love it so much. And it's so like, I love Winnie the Pooh a lot. Like, if you can't tell, it's amazing. And yeah. Question number 8, Gnoichi. Noichi? Do you pronounce the G? I don't know if you pronounce the G or not. A foreign potato recipe. Name a book with a lot of diversity. For this, I kind of just picked any Rick Riordan verse book in general. Specifically, like if I have to pick one, I would pick the Heroes of Olympus series. I'm using the first 3 books to hold up my camera, so I can only have House of Hades in my hand right now. But like this book, I mean, in the first book you kind of get like some queer characters in it thrown in, but like House of Hades, you have so many diverse characters. Heroes of Olympus, like specifically the crew of Argo 2 is like just so incredibly diverse. We have Nico, who's Italian, we have Hazel, who's African American, we have Leo, who is Hispanic, and of course, a bunch of queer representation. So just, I mean, again, Rick Riordan verse in general has so much representation in it, but Heroes of Olympus is really where it starts to shine through, especially when you have like 7 to 10 main characters. You think that's a lot, but it's like a 5-book series, so honestly, it does not feel like it. Question number 9, roasted potatoes. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. Name a character that goes through a lot of hardship but is still soft on the inside. I picked Cecil from Welcome to Night Vale. This is a Welcome to Night Vale novel, and he isn't a main character in this, but I think this is the most beautiful Welcome to Night Vale book. So if you want to see a book all about Cecil, go read the podcast transcripts or just listen to the podcast. But Welcome to Night Vale is just an amazing series. It follows the story of the weirdest town, the mission statement of Welcome to Night Vale is making the mundane terrifying, the terrifying mundane. That is what this story is meant to represent. Cecil, who is our narrator for the podcast, and you get to see little bits and pieces of his radio show in the novels, he goes through so much, and I can't even, every single arc, he has to face down one thing after another, and at the end of the day, he's still so soft and sweet, and, story 1 is about him falling in love with the new scientist of town, and it's a queer relationship, and it's adorable, and then, further on in the arc, he has to stop the world from exploding, and then he has to fight angels, and he has to fight the government, and, the most epic line in the entire thing is he is holding a cat, and there's context behind that I cannot explain, but the amount of hardship he goes through to keep his family safe is amazing, and he's just great at the end of it. And finally, question 10, your favorite potato. This is kind of make up your own question by choosing your favorite potato. For me, I picked sweet potatoes / yams. A book or series that is always miscategorized, and I picked Mistborn for this because Mistborn was published originally as an adult fantasy novel, but recently has been being treated as a YA fantasy novel. It's definitely not YA, but it doesn't have extreme gore or violence or sex in it to make it adult. It's just high fantasy that isn't meant for younger readers, so it's really more of a new adult story. It's great and amazing. Honestly, if you want to get into high fantasy, please go read this series. It is just wonderful. It's all about them taking down the final empire, and there's magic, and it's a very hard magic system, so you know all the time what the characters are capable of doing, and it's so cool, and it's great, and there's thieves, and there's politics, and I normally hate politics in my book, but it's spies and just dealing with court life, and I love it. I really do. So that has been the Potato Book Tag. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you have any books that you would have replaced with any stuff I've mentioned, please leave that down in the comment section down below. While you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. As always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.